Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe so you guys are updated on hair loss and hair transplant topics, as well as updates on current hair loss treatments in the pipelines. Visit my website at HAIRLICIOUSLY.com to purchase your microneedling device, which is scientifically proven to stimulate hair growth, my low-level laser therapy cap, DHT blocking shampoo and serum, hair growth vitamins, and a few other products to help those who are losing hair. In today's video, I wanted to do a follow-up on Mayweather's beard transplant and alleged hair transplant results. If you guys were not aware, Mayweather posted a photo of himself back in December 2020 on Instagram, showcasing his new beard transplant that he received, and also what appears to be a newly designed hairline, which was indicative of a hair transplant in my opinion. As far as the beard is concerned, there's no doubt that he's actually had a beard hair transplant. It's pretty plain to see the implanted grafts on his beard and density to an area that was once void of hair. Now, as far as the hair transplant itself, there are some people who are refuting this, stating that Floyd Mayweather did not get a hair transplant and that he solely just grew out his hair. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty certain that he's had some type of work done to his hairline, because he's always been, razor shaving his head. And now all of a sudden, in some of his more recent photos over the past few months, he's been growing out his hair, which is odd given that he's always been rocking the shaved head for years and years. If you go back to his old Instagram photos, you can see what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, he just decides to grow out his hair. Now, when people shave their heads, and I'm not talking about a buzz cut, because with a buzz cut, you still be able to see kind of like that shadow of hair on the scalp. They're obviously doing it for one very good reason. And the reason why Mayweather, in addition to countless number of other men who shave their heads using a razor, is because they are losing their hair. His barber also revealed that Mayweather pays around $1,000 2 to 3 times a week to get his head shaved, which is nearly about $1 million per year added up, which is just crazy in my opinion, just to go in to get his head razor shaved. We have people like Michael Jordan, Dwayne Johnson, Vin Diesel, who razor shave their heads because they too have a high degree of hair loss. So to see Mayweather resorting back to growing out his hair and actually having a well-defined hairline all of a sudden that also looks pretty juvenile, like in the word one, it's very likely that he's had a hair restoration during the time he simultaneously had his beard transplant, and basically just knocked 2 birds with 1 stone, because both the hair and the beard grafts are extracted from the back of the donor zone. There are some other questionable things that also point to him having received a hair transplant. Now, going back to the Instagram post he put up on his beard transplant, it turns out back then that a Turkish hair transplant clinic called Hair of Istanbul, they also specialize in a lot of the beard transplants. I recently started following him and even liked this photo of him with his beard transplant. It's definitely possible that the clinic started following him just because, they were a fan of Mayweather, but I think we can all assume that that isn't likely the case. Now, another thing that makes me question is that a Turkish guy had posted on his Twitter account a photo that he took of Mayweather around the same time that Mayweather received his hair transplant. So this makes me believe that he also traveled, or he had traveled to Turkey to go to this clinic to get his procedure done on his beard and his scalp. Now, there is also another guy on Reddit. Now, this is unverified, but he did comment that Mayweather was indeed at Hair of Istanbul during the time he received his hair transplant, and talked about how frantic the clinic was because they were scheduled to basically have a VIP come in for that day, which turned out to be Mayweather. So there seems to be overwhelming evidence that Mayweather had received a hair transplant, and the best way to really further nail this down is to compare him to his before and after photos. Now, Mayweather, I think, did a great job, at least during his more recent years, in really maintaining the shaved head, because I really couldn't find that many good photos of him showing him with a receded hairline. And this is obviously due to him going to his barber 2 to 3 times a week to shave all of his hair off before it got noticeable. But I did manage to find this photo here on Instagram, dated October of 2018, when he was in Greece. And if you zoom in on the photo, we can clearly see a receded type of hairline. It looks like he probably didn't shave it for a few days because he was on vacation. And we can see that subtle hair loss pattern on the front region. And I'd probably place him somewhere between, the word 4, maybe the word 5 maximum, since I can't really see the extent of hair loss on the vertex. But it's pretty clear to see that his temples and his hairline are non-existent, or it was thinning and miniaturizing, and he was definitely losing hair, at least to the frontal portion. So with that said, we can now safely conclude that he's very likely had a hair transplant, and this is the very reason why he's now been able to grow out his hair and show off his nice hairline that he has on his social media. And since it's been about 6 months since his last hair transplant, I figured that I'd give you guys an update and my thoughts on how his results look. Now, typically at 6 months, you should definitely see a lot of growth, probably about 60 to 70%. And as the months progress by, the density is also going to increase along with the hair thickness up until kind of like that 10 to 12 month mark, which is typical of when you're going to see the final results of your procedure. In my case, I saw the majority of growth around 7 to 8 months. So Mayweather is progressing really well, and he appears to have been an early grower since his hair looks really good even at just 6 months post-op. And also the density looks really good. His other photos on Instagram a few weeks after his hair transplant, so photos in January, February of this year, show a full head of hair, and that's most likely due to the fact that shock loss hasn't taken place yet. I feel like it's also harder to tell how well the hairline was done, especially with African American hair, because of their curly nature of just how their hair is. But I do feel like with African American hair, doctors can have a little bit more leeway in terms of not worrying too much on focusing solely on placing single grafts into the frontal portion of the hairline. The advantage that Mayweather has is that being African American, his curly hair texture is going to give him the illusion of more density with fewer hairs. It can cover more surface area, but curly hair also has its cons too, because it's also going to be more difficult to extract via FUE. And this means that it's going to have a higher transection rate. So you always want to find a clinic that specializes and has a lot of experience dealing with African American hair. I will say that Mayweather, or in terms of Mayweather, the clinic definitely provided him VIP treatment, and I'm pretty sure that the doctors made sure that they weren't going to screw this thing up or have the technicians even perform the majority of the work. There's nothing wrong with skilled and experienced technicians performing the work, but I feel like they were working on such a high-profile athlete. I'm sure that the doctors there probably just did the majority of the work just to make sure that everything went smoothly. Now, looking through some of his older photos and also some of his recent photos on YouTube videos, it's even hard to see any signs of FUE scarring, and this is likely the case for most African American hair because the curly nature helps cover up more area, and therefore it's going to help cover up the scars even at a shorter hair length. And his hair is looking pretty good a few months post-op. I would have to imagine that he would have experienced at least some degree of initial transplanted hair shedding, and it is very possible that he was using something like Topic or some type of hair fibers to create an illusion of density while the transplanted hairs were growing out during the first few months. But overall, I think his results look pretty good, at least in terms of density. And as far as what his hair loss treatment regimen is like, we actually have no clue. Given that he was balding progressively over the past few years, it makes me wonder that he was not on any hair loss medications like finasteride or dutasteride, or maybe he was on them but he did not respond favorably. But like I said, this is just pure speculation. I don't know for sure. It's hard for me to even think that someone like him would actually apply Minoxidil twice a day in addition to microneedling, laser therapy, and a bunch of other stuff. And I feel like he just went for the more direct route by getting a hair transplant to fix up his receding hairline that he's had for the past few years. And the truth is that, most people, and I say that it's most people because they are going to have to resort to a hair transplant if they want to reestablish their hairline and add in density. Treatments that we have like Minoxidil, 5-ARs, anti-androgens, microneedling, laser therapy can improve density. And in some cases, they can actually even reverse hair loss to the point where a hair transplant is not even warranted. But most people, especially if they want to achieve adequate density and be able to regrow hair, would likely have to consider getting a hair transplant or two. And I think that's what Mayweather did, in the end. It's surprising that he actually went to Turkey to get his procedure done, because I would assume that most US actors or athletes would find one in the US, as money likely isn't going to be an issue. But I guess he did like what he saw and decided to proceed with it. And at the end of the day, he was able to get back a full head of hair and a full beard, and he seems pretty content with the results. So major kudos to him, and hopefully he sees even more growth as the months progress by. Hopefully he's on some sort of hair loss treatment regimen that blocks DHT, because without it, there's going to be a very good chance that he is going to continue to recede and miniaturize, and he's going to have to continually play a game of catch up. Anyway, that's all I have for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Mayweather's beard and hair transplant. If you want to see other celebrity hair transplant analyses, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.